and humanity always makes us believe that howsoever strong negativity may be, one can still overcome it. So not wasting more time, I would invite Sir to address our audiences, but with a small sighing, which is perhaps his favorite as well. नजर को बदलो तो नजरें बदल जाते हैं, नजर को बदलो तो नजरें बदल जाते हैं, सोच को बदलो तो सितारे बदल जाते हैं, नजर को बदलो तो नजरें बदल जाते हैं, सोच को बदलो तो सितारे बदल जाते हैं। कश्तियां बदलने की जरूरत नहीं है, कश्तियां बदलने की जरूरत नहीं है, दिशा को बदलो तो किनारे खुद पे खुद बदल जाते हैं। With this small note of poetry, I would like now to invite Professor Mohan Kumar Gautam to address our audiences in this second session. Sir, over to you. Gautam sir, are we audible? Sir, are we audible to you? Hello? Sir, can you hear us? So we'll wait for some time. Gautam sir. Yes. Sir, we can start. सर, आप हमें सुन सकते हैं?
Hello.
Hello. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Sir, it is audible now. Kindly speak.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
सर आपकी आवाज आ रही है, बोलिए।
मेरा आ रहे हैं आवाज?
यस सर, आपकी आवाज आ रही है।
Thank you. Can you see me?
यस सर, आप दिख रहे हैं। यस, यू आर सीज।
Can you see me, sir?
यस सर।
Yeah. ठीक है।
कहाँ पे जा रहे कहाँ जहन तो दूर।
Good afternoon, one and all. So, at the outset, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to the organizer, especially Professor Madhumita Das, Vice Chancellor, Fakir Mohon University, and convener and co-convener, Dr. Sunil Padi, Pavitra Mohan Naik, Dr. Sipra Sagarika, Miss Smiti S. Thappa. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to share some of my ideas on the topic. The broad theme is socio-cultural challenges during COVID-19 pandemic in Indian society, local and global concern. But the specific topic for this session, that is anthropology of pandemic COVID-19. So we should have some basic information on the disease, I mean coronavirus. You'll be surprised to know that this virus envelope is 85 nanometer, and the spike are of 20 nanometer length, 20 nanometer. And on an average, a coronavirus has 74 surface spike, 74 surface spike. And you must know what is a nanometer. A nanometer is 1 billionth of a millimeter, 1 billionth of a millimeter. So the viral envelope consists of three things. One is your membrane, then envelope, and the spike. Spike are structural proteins which are anchored to the envelope. And we know that now 213 countries have been affected by the virus. So if you look at the global figure, 165 lakhs, more than 160 lakhs have been infected, 6.5 lakhs have died across the globe. And more than, you take the figure of US, 44 lakhs have been infected, 1.5 lakh have already been died. In India, 15 lakhs have been infected and 34,000 have already died. And I must also give you the figure for Odisha. 26,000 have been infected and 167 have already died. So entire humanity is at stake. And there is a massive loss of human lives due to this virus. And then I must take you to anthropology. You know, anthropology is a holistic discipline. And anthropology as a discipline can help us to understand the biological and social complexity of COVID-19. Both are important. And within anthropology, we have very interesting branches like social class, cultural anthropology, physical, biological anthropology, prehistory archaeology, linguistic anthropology, medical, or you can say healthcare anthropology, economic anthropology, then psychological anthropology, political anthropology, practicing anthropology, anthropology of children and youth, anthropology of gender, anthropology of aging. So each branch can significantly contribute to this pandemic COVID-19 or play a significant role during this pandemic. That is very, very important to remember. And anthropology, is a holistic subject. Sometimes, the unfortunate thing that we quarrel among ourselves, that we are different from biological anthropologists and, prehistory archaeology. But this is the time when we should come together, and we should treat that our subject is holistic subject, and it can really contribute for the welfare of mankind during this COVID-19 situation. So anthropologists must take, anthropology has provided all of us a wonderful opportunity to understand human behavior during this pandemic situation. And as anthropologists, we must take part in documenting changing human behavior, changing human relation during this pandemic. For human, not being social is not an option. I repeat, for human, not being social is not an option. And that when people are isolated, bad things happen in their life. And this is why this subject is so significant. And that is, the subject provides us a biosocial perspective. And through a biosocial perspective, we can study both the biology of the virus and social context of the pandemic. And I'm reminded of the American Anthropological Association. If you go to the website of American Anthropology Association, you will find a COVID-19 resources. And it is written there, as the pandemic continues, anthropological insight are valuable resources for health promotion, disease prevention, and strengthening of health system. So this is what is written in AAA COVID-19 resource web link. I am reminded of a very eminent professor, Professor Julia Black. She is from United Kingdom, and she is the president-elect of British Academy. And she says the 2020s, means starting from 2020 to 29, 2020s will be the decade of humanities and social science. She's a black, economist, had her education from London School of Economics, and she says that anthropology, psychology, history, geography have already helped us to fight against the deadly virus. So during the course of my lecture, I will touch upon 8-9 aspects. So like medical anthropology, biological and medical anthropology, social anthropology, and in that I will touch upon family, marriage, kinship, community, priestry, archaeology, then psychological anthropology, anthropology of aging, anthropology of children and childhood, children and youth, anthropology of gender, anthropology of aging, and economic anthropology, fieldworking anthropologist, and practicing anthropology, overcoming the socio-cultural challenges. I will speak 2 minutes because there is a time constraint. I don't know how long I will be allowed to speak. You look at this biological and medical anthropology. I have already given you some idea about the virus. So the biology of the virus, that is very, very important. And in medical anthropology, we deal with universal health, but in healthcare, but along that, we should also discuss about the civil liberties. How health delivery system is there, and how there is a question of availability and accessibility. Poor people won't be able to access, even if that is there. How many, marginalized family have been excluded from taking advantage of the health delivery system. And how do people perceive? Don't think about the urban and metropolitan situation. How do people perceive the corona novel virus disease in the remote area, maybe in the rural and tribal area? What are the indigenous method of treatment? And do they rely on the traditional healer during this COVID-19? Or do they go for magical healing? Those kind of things are very, very important. And as anthropologist, you should, probe into this area. These are all vacant area. And then we talk about now in tribal society, they have a feeling of we. They believe in family concept, kinship concept. Now we talk about personal hygiene, personal health. So how this contradiction will be resolved, and how the doctor-patient relationship, sometimes doctors who we treat as corona warrior, they fear to treat the patients. How the doctor-patient relationship has changed and assumed a new dimension, and how the caregiver also feels scared sometimes treating the patient. These are all important aspects, and how we handle the symptomatic and asymptomatic patient, and what is a contamination zone or contaminated zone, what is quarantine. All these things are to be dealt by the medical anthropologist, and how also
ନାନୀ ମତେ
hello,
ମୋରି ପଡି ଦିଅ
how there is also less physical activities during the pandemic, and how the children are putting on weight, gaining weight, and whether these medical ethics are being followed in different medical, healthcare setting. That is also one aspect to be explored. Now, let me come to the social anthropology, cultural anthropology, family, marriage, kinship. Small basic thing I will, the dyadic relationship, intra-family relationship with kinsman, and relation at the kin community level. That social connectedness, that is very, very important. Now we see that, there is also change in the marriage and death rituals. And when it is a disposal of the dead, even family members fear to handle the dead body. And there is, notion of stigma and discrimination. And that is why how that aspect will be dealt. And, patients in her familial setting, once someone is, infected, and there is a quarantine, and how family members deal with that. And now that interfamiliar relationship also strained. Now you might see, methods of greeting each other. Now they are elbow touching their elbow, not shaking their hands with each other. And also, now Indian methods of greeting like namaskar, saying that is getting popular all over the globe. So during this pandemic, what happened? There was a positive relationship up to a certain point, but with the passage of time, after things started getting worse. We noticed depression, anxiety, loneliness, those kind of things, and even domestic conflict. When husband and wife are there for longer duration, there is domestic conflict, domestic violence, and both are working. Both dual career family, both are working from home. And if I am a teacher, I am taking online classes. So how that has disrupted the normal functioning? How there is a fluidity of role relationship, and we also see increased number of suicide and death during this pandemic time. And social norms, folkways, mores are overlooked, which are taken seriously. Now those are being overlooked. And there is, we feeling among the villagers, despite the faction and division. So like the structural principle of fission and fusion that has been said by Evans Pritchard in his book, New Era. So people get united when they see that someone from outside coming to the village, they prevent his entry to the village. So there is a solidarity community level, growth solidarity. And this is time, to study also village unity, village solidarity. In 1950s, there are a couple of villages, Indian village and village India, that are significant. And during that decade, number of studies were conducted on village. Now probably this is time to go back to village and see what is happening there. Now let me throw some light on prehistory archaeology. Recently it has been said that ancient teeth show that history of epidemics is much older than what we think. As novel coronavirus epidemic reshapes our life, historian tells us that this is not for the first time it is happening in the earth. So the earliest written record stretches back to the plague of Justinian in AD 341, which killed up to 50 million people. Okay, Anno Domini AD, and in 348 AD, 50 million people were killed because of of the plague. And then if you go back further, if you go back to AD 165, over earlier Antonian plague, 5 million dead, and and it was substantial part of the entire world population. So now there is some like paleogenetics, an emerging field that study DNA in remnant of the ancient teeth. And Professor Anis Stone, School of Human Evolution and Social Change of Arizona State University. So he focused on the anthropological genetics, and Stone and where historical evidences are lacking, DNA evidence offer possibility of filling the gap, what we call conjectural history, and sometimes in a surprising way that fill up the gap. Stone is plague. Now these archaeologists now believe that plague bacteria, which caused the medieval Black Death that killed up to half of the European population, infected human roughly 5,000 years ago in the Stone Age. So the bacteria, after has entered into the bloodstream, killed the person, and circulated into the pulp of the chamber of the teeth, which kept the DNA insulated from millennium of over environmental wear and tear. So that is how it has lasted. And now I move to that is how also prehistory archaeology can contribute to the better understanding of COVID-19 situation. And now let us move to psychological anthropology. There is shortage of mental health professional. If we have opted for a subject, optional paper, psychological anthropology, you may get a job easily. So what psychological anthropology has taught us? It teaches us how to empathize people fear and how to normalize stress reaction. That is also very well. How to cope with unfamiliar threat that is difficult to detect, and then how to handle psychological disturbance. All this we can learn through psychological anthropology. How to provide clear guidance and recommend health behavior, and sometimes you have to share solidarity with the patient. How you encourage and motivate the patient. How you instill hope of recovery in the patient. Those are all important questions. And then I would like to move on to anthropology of aging. We call sometimes gerontology or sociology of aging. So we find many vulnerable citizens, senior citizens, and even that happens to the disabled people. They feel lonely. Loneliness has deepened, and they live with uncertainty, with limited physical contact, and while they're trying to maintain the social connectedness, but because of the physical isolation, sometimes they fail to maintain that contact. And sometimes, in a poor family, they recommend extended institutional quarantine for the elderly people. In that case, the institution will pay for their stay and provide them food, and no caregiver is needed. And that is why they feel also frustrated. And sometimes the institutional quarantine, that is not a safe place. What is happening in institutional setup, we all know. So social isolation can lead people with mental health. And mental health condition especially can make them vulnerable to acute stress reaction in an epidemic situation. And we cannot dehumanize aging. Supposing there is shortage of ventilator, and who should get this facility? In the recent time, United States, they said that this should go to the younger people. And so many elderly people are sacrificed. But what medical anthropologists teaches us? Medical anthropology thinking. And rather it advocates care for elder is a very important for, aspect of the human being. And being human, if we're human, we cannot neglect the elder people. So more for the elderly caring should be developed, and elder must be treated with special care through small things. They need small help, but those are very important. Now, I have been researching on children and childhood. If I don't touch upon this aspect, probably I will fail in my duty. So now you look at the teaching learning process. The question is that can technology substitute the teacher? And there are many demerits of online teaching. So human element would be missing there. Students are not used to online teaching. And there is also poor net connectivity in remote area. Many students do not have smartphone. So these all things should be taken into consideration. And sometimes we talk about blended teaching. It will take some more time for our student to get used to also this method. So learning through physical method, that is not possible. And then online teaching, there are limitations. Blended teaching, there is problem there. And now students are also confused with the examination system. There is a ongoing fight between center and state, 5 states. So center said that the final semester examination is a must, but some states are not in a position to conduct the final year exam. So student sometimes fear that whether our degree will be de-recognized. Parents also, pass through anxiety. And now you look at the peer group activities that has considerably reduced. Children's play have been impacted severely by the pandemic. So these are all interesting area, and you can really do good piece of research. Now let me move on to anthropology of gender. So socio-economic consequences of COVID-19 must be understood through the lens of gender. We cannot ignore it. COVID-19 has claimed the lives of men more than women. And same thing happened also in the year 2003. SRS, more deadly for men compared to women. Probably, male immune system may be less equipped to fight against the virus compared with. So what are the socio-economic consequences of COVID-19 through gender? Now recently, Indian Express Research conducted a research in Mumbai, and they studied the women, and they write further marginalization of the already marginalized women, especially poor women. How do they bear extra burden with limited, inadequate infrastructure facility, the women? So according to an estimate by Lead NGO in Mumbai, 4 to 5 million people in Mumbai lack access to household water connection, forcing them to line up at community water tap. And women have to lose 2 to 3 hours of their morning standing in line at a dribbling tap. During COVID-19 lockdown, household water needs have swelled up. Owing to high summer temperature, that may not be case right now, maybe 2 months back, that was the situation. On all family members being at home, and the emphasis of frequent hand washing. So that, swelled up. And the result, women are spending more time in queuing up. Some are turning up to the underground water market, which operates under the cloak of darkness. As women step up there during the early hours of the morning to buy water, they often face sexual and verbal harassment. And sometimes what happens, frustrated and unemployed men struggling to access tobacco and alcohol, and several men are unloading their anger through physical, verbal, and sexual assault. This is very, unfortunate thing. And the domestic, responsibility that women bear, cooking and cleaning and even washing, have ballooned up. Unequal access to the technology will further consequences to women, especially education and employment. So many times what happens, online learning. So girl student drop out because, as their help is needed by the mother for timely completion of many household jobs. So mother would expect her daughter to help. So the daughter would not attend the online classes. These are small things because we believe in micro level observation. These are small things but important things. And reduce job prospect for women because women have to spend more time in the four walls of the house. So female labor work participation rate, which is always low in India, will now further drop down because of the COVID-19 situation. So the policy response must be to restructure and rebuild our economics in a manner that empower women to lead safe, productive, and fulfilling life. To what extent we are doing? Similarly, access to sexual and reproductive health and rights for women are also likely to reduce during this pandemic. Increase of maternal mortality is expected, and unintended pregnancy and other sexual and reproductive health outcome among men and girls are expected. Now, you look at the workforce. Women make up 20% of global health workforce. So, health social workers face increased risk and vulnerabilities. And PPE kits are made available to them. So, they are weak, corona warriors, but they face the music. Now, let us look at the economic anthropology. That is important branch. So, whether shutdown is a solution, you rethink about. We have to strike out a balance between livelihood and also economic growth and progress. So health security is one end and economic growth and security is other end. So somewhere balance has to be struck between life and livelihood. So how the marginalized people are facing livelihood problems during this pandemic and how they are living on the margins, that is very, very important. We witness, massive in-migration of laborers, light of migrants, laborer walking hundreds of kilometers of road to reach their native place. And during the course of the journey, many women and girls also are physically abused, sexually abused. So there is a growing social discontentment and disharmony among these laborers. So this is a structural issue, that sets the terrain for the spread of COVID-19 rather than the biological property of the virus itself. So this issue needs to be addressed. So how the structural inequities will be overcome and how there will be a structural arrangement, structural arrangements. And now migrants are going back to workplace, living their life. You must have seen, that is also happening in Orissa, and how there is distress cell, occupational changes, and how more skilled workers are also working as unskilled laborer in the unorganized sector, even in Manrega scheme. This is time where anthropologists should do, like skill mapping. We call cultural resource mapping, but now it is time to do skill mapping. And we must evolve strategy to return labor force, treat it as an opportunity. We should treat those returned migrants as an opportunity rather than taking them as a burden. Then I would like to switch over to fieldwork, fieldworking anthropologists. It is said that, fieldwork is the hallmark of anthropology. We conduct fieldwork at different levels, undergraduate level, postgraduate level, MPhil level, and doctoral level. The durations are different. But how to meet the fieldwork requirements during the pandemic COVID-19? Should we change our method? Okay, if it is our population, you go for over 4 can contact them, you can send them co-share. But what about ethnograph fieldwork? How would you able to establish rapport? How there will be in-person interaction? How the community member will accept you? Acceptance by the community member, acceptance by the key informant, because there is now a feeling of we and they, or maybe the researcher, she or he, how that situation will be overcome. What kind of precautionary measure the researcher will take, like social distancing, healthcare, safe drinking water, personal health and hygiene when the researcher is in field. And now we believe in, we attach a lot of importance to participant observation and case study method, and how we administered this method in the field to elicit information from the field. So live in village, and if you are doing a ethnographic fieldwork, you have to live there for a longer duration of time. And how you make adjustment there, how you stay for longer duration during COVID-19. So, we are all practicing anthropology. Our anthropological insight will help us to overcome many of the major challenges. And what are those challenges? How to provide better health care to elderly people and people with disability. That's in we should try to sort out through our anthropological unit. How to improve new strategies for domestic violence during this pandemic. How to bring migrants to the fold of innovative economic, rehabilitation. That is also another challenge. And how to reduce, what I call the workload of female in a familial setting during this COVID-19 pandemic. How to deal with stigma and social discrimination at the community level, in a community context. These are all important things. And lastly, how to evolve strategy for bringing some modification on the standard anthropological technique for ethnographic fieldwork during this pandemic. So these are all important questions, because we anthropologists believe in micro level analysis. The time and space is important. That provides the context. The context of occurrence is very, very important. So let us join our hands and let us fight with the virus using our anthropological insight. Thank you very much. Cipra, I would like to thank you personally, because you have given me the opportunity to share some of my ideas. Thank you very much.
Most welcome, sir. Thank you very much. Actually, because of some technical issues, we were unable to connect to you at first, and then we could start with this. Sir, we are extremely thankful to you to cover almost all aspects of the society from the lens of anthropology, starting from anthropology of culture, sociology, anthropology of aging, anthropology of gender, and everything which you have covered. So for our audiences who were not rightly briefed about Professor Kumar Behera, I would just take few minutes so that I can introduce him. It should have been done at the first before speaking, because of technical issues we could not. Professor Deepak Kumar Behera is currently Vice Chancellor Sambhalpur University. He has been ex-Vice Chancellor to Berhampur University. He has also been given additional charges of managing Rajendra University, Balangir. He is recipient of award and is a dynamic leader and
Yes, sorry sir, it was disconnected in between. So he is also the recipient of India's Sharat Chandra Roy Memorial Medal by Asiatic Society Kolkata, and he is also considered IUAES Scientific Commission on Children, Youth and Childhood. Beyond his academic engagement, he is a fantastic artist as well. The epitome of his creativity can be understood from the Sambhalpur University's beautiful song of Sound of Silence, which speaks volumes of knowledge, spirit, and growing minds together, working towards excellence of society through education. Taking the light of exceptional leadership, he has been continuously guiding us on each and every minute detail to technically and organizationally make this webinar a grand success. Sir, it is because of your blessings and guidance, along with Professor Madhumita Raj's guidance, we are able to do it in such a manner. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Now, I would like to request Professor Mohan.
Thank you very much.
If he can
And thank once again for giving me this privilege to share some of my ideas on anthropology of COVID-19.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And I would request you to, if you can join us after some time as well, or you can stay with us, sparing little bit of time. because some of our extremely talented students are going to practice anthropology of poetry, anthropology of craftsmanship, anthropology of dance, and anthropology of mono acting for a short period of time, just after our audience, briefing is over by Professor Mohan Gautam Kumar. So I
Okay.
thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And now I invite Professor Mohan Gautam to kindly come in. If sir can connect to us.
Can you listen to me?
Yeah. We can
Yes, sir,
listen to you. Mohanji,
you are
namaskar.
clearly-
Namaskar.
Namaskar. Well, I would like first to thank to the Vice Chancellor, Professor Madhumati Das, for organizing this webinar conference, and of course, Professor Dehuri, and then Dr. Sunil Padi, and Dr. Pabita Mohan Nayak, Dr. Shipra Sangrika, and Miss Smriti S. Thapa. I can't name all the people, but you understand. I want to thank all of you for organizing this special theme on social cultural changes during COVID-19. And then you are looking at two important things, local and global concern. Now, Professor Deepak Behra has already given ideas about India and has connected with the anthropological thoughts from other parts of the world. Now, I am looking at one thing here, that anthropology, sociology, allied sciences, actually they are very, very close to each other. We cannot discriminate them. And because all are interested in human interaction. And then human interaction, what do I mean? That how to learn the social behavior of the society, of the people. That means here we are, two branches, society and culture. Society is dealing with institutions, and the culture is dealing something which is a baseline, which has been coming for centuries, and that is a part that has become a part of civilization also. But culture and society sometimes they differ, like in the case of India. India is not a nation, but India has so many cultures and so many languages. So India is a different type, just like a big continent. Having said this thing, what we are interested here, COVID-19. Now, COVID-19 is a pandemic, has become a pandemic. It started maybe as an epidemic, and from Wuhan, as it is said. That means we are dealing from the sociological point of view, the social problem. And the social problems are generally two types of problems. Either they are the natural disasters, which could be famine, which could be earthquake, which could be flooding, etc., etc. But it could also be what I would say, through all these natural disasters, you can also develop certain things, and which are the diseases. Now, when we talk about the disease, we have to actually see another concept or another topic which is very, very much interested, and that is health. Health means we have to think about the health care. Now, the health care, sociologically speaking, is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. If we can keep it, if we can understand all these phases, then we can really understand the society. So now I move to the diseases. Now, diseases have been caused, as I told earlier, due to the imbalance between man and his environment, surroundings. That's why the pollution started. Like water is a very important thing. If the water is polluted, you develop lots of diseases, and sometimes they are lifelong diseases. So the man has to live in terms of a proper balanced pollution. That means for flora and fauna, our surroundings. If the surroundings are not good, then we cannot live. And if we cannot live, then there is no human being, there is no society. Now, diseases then bring me to another aspect, which is the social epidemiology, as it is called in sociology also. Now, this is a very important thing, because this creates causes and the distribution of health diseases. Like Corona-19, it started from Wuhan. Now it has gone to world. I think 37 countries are very, very much affected. And that's why it is called the pandemics. So in social epidemiology, you have to see the distribution, how the distribution is changed, how the causes have developed differently. I mean, like there was a research yesterday I was looking at on TV, and someone said that Corona-19 has also to do with the blood groups. And then they tried to say that the blood group O can get quickly Corona than the blood group A. B is different, because B has to do with Eastern countries like China, etc., etc. Anyway, that's a different story that might come afterwards. Now, that means we have to see what are the agents of the diseases. And since we are talking with this Corona-19, that means there could be biological agents which affect the diseases, which create the diseases, and the people live with the disease. They could be the insects, they could be the bacteria, they could be the viruses. Now, for COVID-19 is a virus. This is known. It is not through the insect. How it has developed, I mean, there are the problems, and there has not been any proper research on it. Now, we come to the society. We live in a society, whether it's India or the Western world, it's a modern society, as we call it, which is actually a multilateral society where lots of groups are there. Human groups are there, and they have migrated to various countries. So the migration plays also a very good role, but they keep their language, religion, cultures, etc. And then sometimes there are the conflicts, and sometimes there is some sort of solution. Now, when there is a solution, the solution comes because of they develop into an ethnic group. So ethnicity plays a big role here, but the ethnicity can only play a role there when there is a certain social class develops. Now, the social class can only develop when we know the differences in the lifestyles. That means one has to see the communication, how the people can communicate. Sociologically speaking, there have been various perspectives which we can look at them. For example, if we look at anthropologists like that, Malinowski. Malinowski started in the Pacific, the functional role, and then he also tried that there should be a participant observation to understand the society. Okay, but Talcott Parsons also said the same thing, that there should be a functional perspective to understand the society. Now, like Radcliffe Browns and other, they tried to develop in different way. They said, no, functions cannot give the problem. You have to have the structural aspect also, which they have taken from Netherlands and the French anthropologist Lévi-Strauss. Okay, that's one thing. Then there is an institutional perspective. That means you have to look at the institutions, the family, the religion, the rituals, etc., etc. But then there is also another aspect, which is a perspective which could be interactional perspective. Now, this is important because when there is a relationship between the medical doctor and the patient, then one has to see in which way the patient, medical doctor are contacting each other. And this is a medical problem. So this is called interactional perspective. Then, of course, you have the postmodern approaches or perspective where the Foucault, Michael Foucault from France in 60s, he started the social constructions between medicine and the social life has to be understood. Then can we only understand the basic idea of diseases, how do they move, and in which way they are distributed among the people. Now, there are two important things come after looking at sociology and anthropological aspects, that the roles and the status. People play a certain role through economy, through family, but sometimes when the diseases come, they cannot fulfill their roles, what is called also the social classes. Now, Parsons and his student, Robert Merton, they tried to give more importance on the roles. And then roles have been taken differently by Ralph Linton from United States, Mead, Burton, from the cultural, psychological aspect of anthropology, and they develop new things. But of course, like Merton, etc., they said, well, there are either the ascribed form of roles or status or the achieved. I mean, I'm not looking at the theory, but I'm trying to say in which way the sociological aspect have developed and tried to look at the diseases and try to analyze the diseases. Now, there's one more thing here which has to be seen very interestingly, and that means that the people become disabled. Disabilities then are either through the inequalities that people are not considered equal, as Deepak Mehra had already said. It could be the gender anthropology, or it could be in a different way, the conjectural history where we have given more importance. I'm different. I mean, I say openly, the relation between men and women should be considered, that women should be considered 51% and men should be considered 49%, because it is the women who does so much thing. Even at the time of disease, she is taking care of the patients. Now, having said this thing, now I try to move the Western part or the other European countries where the COVID-19 has entered and what is now created the problem. Now, two things we have to see. Before we look at the COVID-19, we have to see the role of the state and the country. And the secondly, we have also to see the role of family and society. Now, the state has provided in many West European countries medical insurances. That means the person cannot live without medical insurance. A doctor is there, and in which way the money is paid, that is different, because sometimes the state pays, sometimes a part of the salary is paid, sometimes the company pays. Now, for example, UK started this health system in 1946, whereas Canada started in 1962. Now, look at the BRIC country like India, Russia, China, South Africa. I mean, these countries have no insurances. The only thing, if they can afford, if the people can afford, they can insure themselves. I mean, I remember when people used to come from India to Europe, they did not even have the medical insurance or the movement insurance. So they used to have a lot of problems. Now, what I'm trying to say here, that medical care or medical insurance is very, very important. Look at in Netherlands, for example, or look at the France, or look at the Germany or Denmark. What happens? Everyone is registered. Who pays the money? That has been worked out already. And then if someone is sick in France, or it is in France, or let's say in Germany, then through the computer, they can find out what type of diseases the person had and in which way we can help him. I think this is also the thing, like when the COVID-19 started in Europe, especially in Netherlands, I'm giving an example, 1700 beds were used. They were the only available in Netherlands. And if they had decided if the patients are more corona patients, then they can be sent to Germany. Anyway, now the situation happened in such a way that until last week, there was not a single patient of corona, and all the IC units were free, and they were used for the other cancer diseases. But now I think the second phase has already started, and which is mostly in the southern countries. As you have seen, the England from today, those vacation people went to Spain, they cannot come back. They had to be for 15 days in quarantine. Another thing is, which is not in India, but in certain European countries. That means here, there's no question of daily wages. The concept is the people work, they are hired, and then they are given the money. But if the people cannot work, what would happen? This is a question I think we will have to see. The government of Netherlands, government of Denmark, government of Scandinavian countries, even Germany, they would pay some sort of allowance to the family, the person who is without job. And this is something very interesting for all of us to understand, about 900 euros per month, which is sufficient to live nicely and not to beg. So, like it happened in India, there is no job insurance, there are no medical insurance, people get a lot of problems. And for example, in Western European countries, whether it's Germany or Denmark or Holland, or I'm not talking about United States. United States is different. I think somewhere United States should be considered very near to the Indian system. Now I move further. So the unemployment benefits are there. And if, let's say, for education, certain children are very small and they have to be studied at home. Now the government would pay here, at least in Netherlands, special money so that a teacher can come and the family should not pay. What I'm trying to say, the Netherlands system is all are equal. There is no discrimination. Of course, there is some sort of discrimination, but it is not clear. It is not open. On the other hand, the very good system which the Western Europe is trying to develop is an integration, not assimilation, but integration. That means people should feel that they are the part of that country, whether they are the Indians or Mauritian or which country they belong to, they feel they are Dutch. And that's why they can participate in the Dutch politics, and they can also earn the same money like the others will also get. Now, this is something very interesting. But before trying to tell this thing, I would try to give you a certain idea, which is, I think, very important to understand. When colonization started, it was from the England, it was from Netherlands, it was from Denmark, it was from France, and it was from Spain and Portugal, etc., etc. Now they developed three policies, different policies. The policy of British, or policy of Danish or the Dutch people was this, that whenever they go to the country, they should see that the people should work hard, and so that they can have a good revenues. That was one thing. But they did not assimilate those people in their own culture. And the second thing, the second country like France, Spain, and Portugal, they wanted one thing, that people should be a part of their culture. They should forget everything and they should see French, Spanish, and Portuguese. But the third country, which afterwards started, it was not a colonizer, Germany. Germany had a different system. So what I'm trying to say, those colonies which became free and people came over here, like in Netherlands, there are 1.5 lakhs of Indians are here, who are mostly from the North India, and they are a part of the system. They do not have anything. So now what I'm trying to say is here something very important, that India has to develop some sort of social management. And in that social management, people should feel the country is their own. This is not one nation, but they should feel even the other states are the part of India. They should keep their languages, because without language, there is no communication. Like in Odisha, if you keep the Odia language, I think it's very important, and people should not compare the languages, because languages have their own charm. And that's why during the Corona-19, families, the countries, or the neighborhood, they provided some sort of help to the people. The basic idea that I'm alone, I'm developing a sort of a fear, etc., or the mental depressions, well, they do remain. But at least from the family point of view, from the neighborhood point of view, it has been a part of the observation that they are our people and they should be taken care. Now, that means the social management has to be worked out. And then another thing is, which I think countries like India, United States, they have to learn. That means the discipline. When this corona started, there was the lockout, and it was said that 1.5 meters distance have to be kept. And there was not a question of having the mask, but I must tell you, I have seen here until now, whether it's Netherlands or other countries, they keep the distance. The discipline is very important, because without discipline, they cannot live. And so this is something very important which we do not have. We tell to our Indian people, there's a lockdown and you should do that, you should do that. But due to the lack of amenities, we cannot take care of them. So I think this is done here, and this is the structural point of view. So social stigma is not given that he is having this disease, so we have to keep him, he is untouchable or whatever it is. No, this is not the question. The question is they have to live as a free citizen, a democratic country, and they have a right, and that's why the ethnicity comes there. So in that way, the European countries, the West European countries I'm talking, they have lived like the other white Europeans, if I may say, and they haven't felt any discrimination. They are treated exactly and they are taken care when they are unemployed. Now, this system is not in the East European countries, because East European countries, the people are migrating to the West to get a good job, to get good salary. Of course, discrimination has always been in India also, many other countries also, and that is family and the neighborhood. If the family is rich, neighborhood is also a rich neighborhood. If the family is poor, the neighborhood is also poor. So what I have tried here, if there is an acceptance that human being is the first, the man is the first, we have to take care of him. We have to, in order to survive him, we have to take care of the surroundings, fauna and flora, so that there should not be any pollution. And if we have created a balance, which I feel through the discipline, the things are developing in European countries also, then the third thing or third point, this is my triangle which I try to work out, that is the 5 elements, air, water, etc. If there's a combination of these 3, then the man is most happy. He has everything. Even at the time of diseases, everyone would take care of him. I will give you one example, then stop it. Japan is the only country in our whole world where there is a one feeling that this country belongs to them. And this country is all sorts of people living in different islands. They are also Japanese. And that's why I found out, I was in Japan several times, and at a certain place there was a big conference and certain Indians were there. And we found out in a train, a person took out his thread and needle, and he was trying to stitch the berth of a train, which was little, torn out. Some Indian said, what is this useless person? Why he is doing? But he could not stop himself. He asked that Japanese, and the Japanese said, sir, it is my train. If I don't do it, it will be spoiled. Then we will have to spend money and time just for nothing. This is something which we do not have. We still live in hierarchy, etc., etc. And from the anthropological, sociological point of view, we can work out all these things. So the last point which I would like to say, the Japanese believe in 5 fingers of a palm. And they say the first finger or the thumb is for the country. Second is because they have the dynasty system for the king. Third is for the parents. Fourth is for his own family. And fifth, he himself. And he has covered in this way the whole Japan. My friends, I could talk a lot, but I think I have taken my sufficient time, because we will also have to have, as Dr. Shipra told me, some questions. I think I will stop it here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
It's
for the
time.
wonderful-
It's time was sufficient.
Sir, is it audible?
Yes, it is audible.
Sir, thank you very much for a wonderful understanding of the international scenario about how to deal this pandemic situation. What I feel is that in terms of discrimination in kind of race and ethnicity, which is continuing earlier in the international platform, this COVID-19 pandemic has in a way added on to that. Because one of my friends who recently has visited Germany, she was sharing her experience that whenever some Asian colored people are visiting the nearby shops or other places, people from that origin place are seeing them with a lot of suspicion, and they're showing a discriminatory kind of behavior towards them. So this is certainly a clear indication towards doubling of discrimination patterns, which again everyone has to take care of. And as today Professor Anand Kumar was giving his input in the inaugural lecture,
Hello, I'm not
Yes.
listening to you.
Yes, am I audible?
Yes, now okay.
Yes, so exactly what you were saying, that a kind of integration is required. So a new definition of citizenship is also required. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your wonderful insights. So we'll
Thank
have
you.
a quick discussion about few questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So we have a question for Professor Deepak Behra.
Yes, can you hear me?
Sir, yes, sir, we can hear you. There is a question by Professor Anand Kumar Giri. So he is asking, is it enough to talk of anthropology of fields, anthropology of childhood, and how do we have a new anthropology beyond the concept of anthropocentrism and a new anthropology of species? Thank you, sir. Hello. Sir, Deepak sir, is the question audible to you?
Hello?
Hello,
Hello?
Deepak sir.
Can you hear me?
Deepak sir.
Deepak sir,
Yes, we can hear
we
you.
can hear you.
Yeah. So let me answer this question. Thanks, Professor Giri, for raising this interesting question. So in my lecture, I wanted to project that anthropology is an integrated subject, and we Indian anthropologists should not differentiate it in terms of specialization. Like I'm from cultural anthropology, so I should maintain a distance. I don't know whether it is physical distance or social distance from biological anthropologists. Then with prehistory archaeologists, that has been the scenario in India. So there are a lot of infightings, and we never come to one platform. And this is the time. COVID-19 has provided us a platform where we should come together and work together, and we can see the problem COVID-19 from biological perspective, and also we should examine the social complexity. And the point you are raising, why only anthropology? Why not, like, from the viewpoint of Homo sapien. That is interesting. I do agree. Then we must move to another level where we should collaborate with other disciplines. So we may think of social science. We may think of collaboration between social science and biological science. So there are different levels. My lecture was, at one level, the subdiscipline within the discipline and how we bring integration. So how we come to a common platform, to see and examine the COVID-19 situation, the pandemic. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
So we have another question
We have another question
to Professor Mohan Kumar Gautam
Professor Mohan Kumar Gautam
by Professor Anand Giri.
by Professor Anand Giri.
So,
So
Anand
Anand sir says,
but the Japanese example
may be
Japan
problematic.
does not treat
Japan does not treat
with
non-Japanese with respect.
Even
Korean victims of atom bomb
are not treated
attacks
equally.
are not treated equally.
Professor Mohan Kumar Gautam, please
Mohan
respond.
Kumar Gautam, please respond.
Thank you very much. Can you listen me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I have tried to look at Japan now. That's one thing. I mean, like United States, India, what is now the condition of these countries, in which way we can look at them. Korean victims were there. I mean, during the Second World War, Japan did use the Korean ladies, and they misused them, I mean, their army, as it is said. For that, Japan had already paid the compensation to them. So I think Korea and Japan relations are is still working nicely, because the North Korea is there. So that's a different story. But Professor Giri, I could not get what you wanted to ask, actually, your question, because the question was repeated by two people from the side of the host. So can you ask me again, please? Hello?
Hello.
Hello. Sir, he is saying
That
that the Japanese example which you gave
may be problematic in nature
nature
because Japanese
do
non-Japanese
not treat non-Japanese with much respect.
Yes, I mean, I have been several times of Japan. I can only say this thing, that discipline, social management, there are the two ideas which have been running in whole Japan. And when you are outsider, they would take care of you, whether you speak their language or not. That's a different story. Recently, in the month of January, my daughter was in Japan for 1 month, and she went to many islands, many islands of Japan, and she met all sorts of people. And she did say, one thing I have found out, whenever the people come to Japan, they will give all the hospitality and they will help you. When I was there, if I could not speak Japanese, I wanted to find out a place, the Japanese said to me, just wait, I will go with you and I will show to you. I mean, that type of hospitality, that type of ideas, I would love to have, that India should have. And I think Japan had, because Japan has developed a nation. Japan has developed respect to their own people. Until last year, I think Japan was not allowing people to come to Japan. migration was almost nil. But last year when I was in Japan, then I read in the newspapers that they want to have 250,000 youngsters because the Japanese population is becoming old and old. So I think Japan now wants to have more close relations with all the countries. And I think this is a very, I mean, India is also having, I'm not telling Professor Giri that India did not do, but I only said this thing, if we can take the example of Japan, perhaps we should also do the same thing in India and develop a nation. It would never be a nation, but it would be a nation from the territorial point of view that we are all Indians and we have to take care, whether there are the Dalits or whether they are the caste people or whether they are from other religions or Adivasis, we have to take care. And we should feel that we are one. Economically, you could improve, but if socially you are hollow, then the question is how to develop it. And of course, there comes the sciences, social science, anthropology, sociology, social psychology, economics, history, etc., etc. So I would not say that these sciences are not important. They're very important. They have to be enhanced. And I think the best way is that universities should also develop new ideas so that the international world can listen to them, and perhaps Indian university can be a model to them. Anyway, I think I have tried to give you some idea. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We are really thankful to Professor Deepak Behra and Professor Mohan Kumar Gautam for helping us to understand widely about how anthropology is understanding COVID-19 pandemic. So with this, I would now like to ask some of our students who have volunteered for trying to understand this pandemic situation through the lens of cultural activism. So now I call Sanjay Kumar Das to present a small song on this particular theme. Sanjay, can you hear me? Sanjay, can you hear me? So we have a team of cultural people headed by Swati, Sanjay, Harapriya. So if anyone can put in, kindly connect to us. Swati?
Hello? Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
Swati? Yes, so I hand over to you. You please carry on. So can Sanjay hear to me? Sanjay is here. Can Sanjay
Yes,
hear
ma'am.
me? So please we start with Sanjay. Sanjay is our third semester economics student, and he has got something to present in front of us. Sanjay, I hand over to you. So if we are
Hello?
not able to hear from Sanjay, Swati?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello? Yes, Swati,
Hello?
please, you carry on. Let us start with you. Let us start with you. Swati, you start with a poem.
Yes, ma'am.
Swati,
Thank you,
can
ma'am.
start.
Yes, ma'am. A very good afternoon to all of you.
Swati,
Myself,
please.
Swati. Ma'am, I can't hear you. Hello?
Swati, please carry on. Swati, carry on.
Yes, ma'am. A very good afternoon to all of you. Myself, Manti. I would like to say a poem. This poem is about women. This poem is about everybody, diet, beautiful women. This poem is about female suicide. Oh, mom, don't throw me away. I'm the one that you wear a day. It is dark in here. Please take me away. Are you listening to me? It's my prayer. I will like a son. Please does not have a doubt. One day I will make you feel proud. Killing me inside is not hurtful to you. Give me a chance to at least look at you. You are my religion. You are my God. I just need you and to walk on the road. Giving me birth won't be a crime. I will dance wearing frock on your rhyme. I will be you sun and I will be you rain. I won't let you feel that you are in vain. Bring me out and hold me in your arm. Nothing is here which makes me warm. God, I'm sorry if my words are high. I took birth but not wing to fly. If you made me, then don't let me die. Please hear me cry. Please hear my cry. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Swati. Thank you very much. It was really a heart-touching poem on female foeticide. So I really want to congratulate Swati. Is a very talented student of sociology.
Debraji, no sound is coming.
So can we connect to any of our students anymore? I think all of them are facing internet connectivity.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, December month is already.
Swati?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, please, Bishambar, you can continue with your song.
Yes,
and this will be one last song because we are facing internet connectivity. Bishambar, go ahead with your song.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. can I start? Hello.
Samra, you can start. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please.
तलवार पे सर बाहर दिए अंगारों में जिसमें जलाया है तब जाके कहीं हमने सर पे एक केसरी रंग सजाया है ए मेरी जमी अफसोस नहीं जो तेरे लिए सो दर्द सहे महबूब रहे तेरी आन सदा चाहे जान मेरी ना रहे ए मेरी जमी महबूब मेरी नस नस तेरी इश्क वह फर्क न नहीं कभी रंग तेरा जिस्मों से निकल के खून कहे तेरी मिट्टी में मिल जावा गुल बन के मैं खिल जावा इतनी सी है दिल की आरज़ू नदियों में बह जावा तेरे खेतों में खिल जावा इतनी सी है दिल की आरज़ू ओ ओ सरसों से भरे खलिहान मेरे जहाँ झूम के जीवन पा न सके आबाद रहे वो गाँव मेरा जहाँ लौट के वापस जा न सके तेरी मिट्टी में मिल जावा गुल बन के मैं खिल जावा इतनी सी है दिल की आरज़ू तेरी नदियों में बह जावा तेरे खेतों में खिल जावा इतनी सी है दिल की आरज़ू केसरी Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mohanji, for your wonderful lecture.
Thank you very much to you.
I enjoyed your lecture quite a bit.
You should give me your telephone number, the WhatsApp. I can telephone to you.
Yeah, 943
943
70
70
58
5 and then
8 58
yes
426.
426. Oh.
Okay, so that's also my WhatsApp number.
You have my WhatsApp
I'd
number.
like to request
Yeah.
all audiences that tomorrow we can meet in the
Hello.
Thank you very much.
No, because I was thinking when listening the poems, the face were of those people were not coming. Even your face was not coming when you were thanking to the people.
Sir, actually, last moment there was a lot of internet connectivity problem.
Yeah, I think so because you see, I am.
So it could not happen properly.
Yeah, no, but you did your best. I mean, technical things are not in our hand, you know.
Yes.
But I hope, I don't know, because I did not see the time. Maybe it was sufficient. I could speak more, but
No. It was exactly for processing time, sir. There was no problem in time.
no, that's why I was a little afraid, you know. But I hope my words were clear to you.
Yes, very much clear. Sir, we have with us Dr. Padi sitting with us. So he wants to have some.
Yes, let me talk to him.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Padi, I'm giving to sir.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Professor Sunil Padi. Yeah, Sunil Padi, I know.
Yes, sir. How are you, sir?
Thank you very much, and I am so thankful to you. I'm all right. I'm thankful to you. You could organize this thing, you know.
It's all my preparation.
No, I mean, you are a convener. You did everything, and your co-chairs did help you, and I think this is very important.
Nice to talk to you, sir.
Yeah, that's why I said, because sometimes in the beginning, the connections were not coming, so I did maybe some technical things I do not know.
Yes.
Yeah, but I hope that's why I asked Dr. Shipra. I think whatever I said was clear there. All right, take care.
Okay.
And then when Corona is over, I might come to India, and I will try to come and see you. That's
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
okay. Shipra is there?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, sir.
So
Okay, sir.